The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday for those of you who are still in Monday, Tuesday for Aussie, yeah, it's Tuesday for you. Anyway, welcome. Thanks for being here. Little slow start for me today. Apologies. Um, okay, so hopefully. Well, let me tell you what we're going to do today. If you saw my email, first of all, in the What's New section, you probably saw that today is going to be the last user group. Um, and, but, and the reason I'm doing that is just because the small number of people that we have in this group doesn't really warrant continuing. I know. However, I think actually, look, one of the things we're going to talk about today with regard to your ads is test, 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 experiment, experiment, experiment. And this was an experiment, as was my daily email experiment, which I'm also going to change. I'm not going to do daily emails anymore. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that. But it seems like even though I have I'm sorry, I'm skipping around. I have a surprisingly high percentage of people still opening those emails. But the thing is, basically, I'm getting, it's a churn because while I'm putting new people in the top, people are falling out the bottom who are no longer opening. And so what I'm really getting is kind of almost like a constant number of new people opening. And that's not what I want, because I suspect, well, I want long-term relationships with people over years. And so it doesn't, even though a lot of the big guys are doing it and swear by it, I think that's only valid if you're really pushing hard to sell somebody something right away. And I'm not doing that. And so while it's been good for me in terms of getting my content engine cranked back up, and I will continue to produce content on a daily basis and put it out there for everybody. I'm just not going to send the email to go with it. So anyway, so that was an experiment. This has been an experiment, and I think this is the same way. I think we've just found a better way to do this that can potentially be more inclusive of more people between the Facebook group and maybe some Ask Me Anythings. But I still intend to create a great deal of content, and that's sort of what I'm doing in these anyway, is sort of repurposing a lot of content. So I actually don't think a lot will change, except that we don't have a we won't have a set time. I think, which always puts some accountability on it. Thank you, Dom, for what. So Dom says, I want to thank you for doing this for as long as you did. It was very valuable. Yeah, it was. You're welcome, and it was very valuable for me as well. So it was definitely a win for me. Connie says, will you please leave the recordings up for a few days? I missed the last two meetings and really like to listen to them, especially the business manager deep dive. Actually, so absolutely. In fact, I won't take those recordings down. You can have them as long as you want. In fact, what I will probably do is make them public even. They're all on YouTube and they're just unlisted so that they're in the private site, but there's no point really in forcing you guys to log in to find those. So what I will probably do, I think, and just, I'm behind too. I have the recordings, but I don't have the last two posted. So here, tell you what I will do, Connie. I will create a list of I'll leave the ones that are up there. You can log in all you want. But I will also just create a list or a playlist of them in YouTube and post that in various places so that you can always have them that way too. How about that? So yeah, thanks for asking about that. And that's the other thing too, is, like, remember my email about that I sent the other day about, what would this look like if it was easier? Quite frankly, not that I don't love you guys, but between the videos and the prep and the, I'm burning a day on this. And so we've got to not just easier, we've got to make it inclusive for more people. So that was the reason for the decision that I made. But I love you guys, and I love that you're here week in, week out. And I'll make sure that you still keep getting the same great content. You guys just need to keep telling me what you want to hear, what you want to know. Interesting. Mike says, we love you too. Tom says, Kim, thanks for your help. Perhaps the Facebook group can informally meet at this time each week on Facebook. So, I mean, I kind of think that's the idea, Tom. I mean, it's interesting that you say that. I know some people also said they had some trouble with this time. But time, regardless of the time, I think doing a Facebook live stream is another way to get to basically the same thing where anybody can join, right? So just post it as an event and then say, hey, at 11 o'clock on Monday, I'm going to do a Facebook Live. Ask me anything, bring your questions, and I'm happy to answer them, kind of thing. That's kind of what I was thinking. Any feedback on that would be appreciated, or if you think there's a better way to do it that doesn't involve quite so much as this does, then I'd love to hear that. But that's what I was thinking. Plus, it starts to get the Facebook Live thing going, which is another thing on my list. If you don't know what Facebook Live is sort of like it's Facebook's version of Periscope on Twitter. In fact, I did my first Facebook Live. I introduced everyone to my horses over the weekend on my it's right here. Let's see if I can find it. If you go to the Sync2CRM, it not only does it, unlike Twitter, where it goes away after 24 hours, on Facebook, it keeps it on your page. And so it's right there. My first Facebook Live stream, if you want to see it, and I introduced you to each one of my horses. So that's the idea of that. And I was thinking that I would make it like an event so that we could, everyone knew it was coming and could plan for it if they wanted to do that. That was kind of my thought. Charlie says, I'd like to get more into numbers metrics regarding the Facebook ads and how to use the pixel properly to track users with specific ads and landing pages. Okay, good. So just so you know, Charlie, one of the things that I am going to be doing instead of this, let me see if I can find my list. There's a point. Yeah, I'm not just rambling, you guys. There is a point to this. Hang on one second. I'm very slow today, just among friends. I had the shit kicked out of me by a horse over the weekend, like really bad. Like I looked like Wile E. Coyote flying through the air and face planting into the ground. And so I'm not as organized this morning, and maybe not quite so mentally sharp as I normally am. So I apologize if I sound like or maybe I just think I'm rambling. I'm not sure which. Anyway, now to your point, Charlie, here is what I'm planning to do with my time in the mornings instead of the daily email. I'm going to try to kill a couple birds with one stone with this as well. What I'm going to do is create my own Facebook basics course on YouTube. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can. No, well, I can't show you that. But and so here's the list of things that I'm going to do. Each one of these will just be individual videos. And the idea would be, this is also meant to be the prerequisite material for my implementation bootcamp. So, because right now what I'm doing is I'm pointing people. No, I know, Connie, you can't because it's on paper, unfortunately. I was going to I thought I had it someplace I could show it to you, but I don't. So I'm going to read it to you, and you guys can add to it. So right now, if for the boot camp, right now I'm saying, I expect you to already know the basics of Facebook before you come to boot camp, because it's about implementation more than teaching. And right now, what I've said on the sales page is, if you don't already know Facebook, don't worry about it. Just go take Facebook's free blueprint course, and that will get you up to speed, to everything that you need in order to start with my program. And but then I realized that course is good, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely, I thought I could really focus this content down on what is important for my people versus just Facebook's, and be more specific about it, because I'm cherry picking. Then so where Facebook is a mile wide and an inch deep, I'm going to go like a half mile wide and a couple inches deep, on these things. So here's what I have on my list so far. My list is Facebook pages / fans, and do you need them? How to get them, those sorts of things. The ad account and business manager, and getting those all set up properly. Campaign structure, ad objectives, the power editor, pixels / conversions. So that would be, Charlie, these are just broad categories, and each one of these would be broken down into probably any number of videos, right? So pixel / conversions, and which is also something I'll be covering in the boot camp. But audiences, custom audiences, all audiences actually, targeting, ad templates, UTMs, which are the parameters on your that you should be putting on your links in order to be able to do proper tracking back through Google Analytics. Wicked Reports, which I highly recommend, which makes all tracking and metrics and ROI. Basically, if you're doing any sort of sizable Facebook advertising at all and you don't have Wicked Reports, you're just stupid. Sorry, but you might as well just like throw darts, because you have no idea what's effective, what's working. There's no numbers, really. This is the thing, Charlie, that you need to know. There are no numbers that Facebook give you that have any value whatsoever, basically. They're all secondary or tertiary metrics at best. The one that you need is, who cares if only one person converted? Maybe you had a reach of 100,000, you had a click-through rate of 0.0004, and that one person bought a $5,000 program from you. Anyway, the only thing that matters is return on investment, and you can't measure that in Facebook, is the point. And so you need Wicked Reports for that. So that's going to be its own standalone section. For optimization and scaling, budgeting, CPM, CPC, OCPM, lifetime value, ROI spreadsheets. That's my list so far for all the things I'm planning to do for the free videos on YouTube. So any other feedback or thoughts on things that you'd like to see added to that? And that's my plan, is every morning, instead of the email I've been producing, is to just work on getting those videos done. Okay, let me see what comments we got. A bunch from Charlie here. Charlie says, I'm on the fence buying your new course because I fear it won't be detailed enough. I have experience using Facebook, but need detailed info on targeting, pixel usage, etc. Well, here's what I would say about that. Number one, I don't think you're going to ever find any course more detailed than mine, because we are going to literally, the idea is that I'm going to take you through in each session, and then you're going to go away and do it. And then the other thing I would say is, it has a lifetime guarantee on it. So if it isn't detailed enough, you have no risk. Buy it. It's it's going to be publicly priced at $2,000. You can have it for $397, and if it's not detailed enough for you and you don't get value, just ask for your money back. We'll still be friends. I have no problem with that. I wouldn't want you to keep something or pay for something that you didn't think was worth the money that you paid for it. So, that would be my answer to that. Charlie also says no one goes into great detail on how to use the pixel, so that I can see ad 1 is going to landing page 1 and ad 2 to landing page 2. Need to see how to do that. Yeah, that's actually not the pixel. But yeah, that's different stuff. Actually, really, anyway, you need Wicked Reports, which is something we are going to cover in some detail in the course. With one pixel now, it seems harder to figure out how well the Facebook landing page is doing. I disagree. You need to understand how to set up conversion events, which we are going to be doing. Yes, wickedreports.com. Exactly. Connie says, come on, Charlie, come out and play with us. Sign up. Connie's already signed up. I answered Wicked Reports. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Good. All right. So that is everything on that. Well, that was a little rabbit hole I didn't mean to go down, but hopefully it was useful. And, and you guys are my best sounding board, of course, because you are my most super engaged people. So, you're the ones I want to serve, and you're the ones whose feedback to me matters, because you're the ones that are here week in, week out. So I appreciate that feedback a lot. That's very helpful. And if you're thinking of other things that you'd like to see, or please always let me know that, because that's what I want to do. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever what I think. It's what you guys think and need. Okay. Okay. Let's see what else. All right. So the deep dive that I have for you today is just it's kind of marginally deep, and it's something I've been thinking about for a while, and I'm going to make a video out of. There's not a lot to show you, however. It's really more tell, which I hate. But anyway, let me get through. I'll explain it. I'll show you the points that I want to show you, and then we can go to Q&A. Okay. Okay. So the deep dive, or the topic actually, is 3 unbreakable rules for Facebook ads. And these are mistakes that I see people make all the time in their Facebook campaigns. And so we're going to talk about why you should always run 2 ads against one another, never just a single ad in an ad set. And I'll show you that and show you why. We're going to look at ad objectives and which one to pick, or a simple rule anyway for which one to pick that you should not break. And then finally, a simple rule about custom audiences that will save you money and keep you from ruining your credibility with your prospect. Okay, so we'll dive in here. All right, so rule number 1 is, and sorry, I should, I don't have slides or anything for you. I feel like I should. Rule number 1 is always run 2 ads against one another in an ad set. You should never have an ad set with a single ad in it. And people do it all the time. I'm guilty at times, because it's like you're in a hurry and, you just get the one ad done and you're like, done. One of the things that I've had to remind myself is, I will spend 3 hours on an email or a video, and then turn around and spend 15 minutes trying to get an ad done, which is the completely wrong-headed thinking. These ads are at the same as a video or an email. They are a piece, an asset in your campaign, and need the same amount of attention and thought that your other pieces get. Okay. So there's two fundamental Facebook ad principles that are underlying this rule about always running two ads. One is that Facebook is way smarter than you are. So one of my heuristic shortcuts is you always let Facebook help you when you can, always. And then number two, to the point I was just making, is that ads are experiments. And the fastest way to waste money in the Facebook ad game is to assume you know anything. You don't. You don't know anything. No one does, by the way. Nobody. I don't care, not Amy Porterfield, not John Loomer. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg does, right? But otherwise, you should just assume you don't know anything and that ad campaigns are just hypotheses that are proven or disproven by clicks and conversions from real people. So to be successful as an advertiser, then you've got to approach Facebook as a scientist, which means that you're always testing, you're always experimenting, and you're always like wondering, oh, wonder what would happen if I did this. Okay. So I'm going to, let's go over here to the computer and let me think, where do I have that? Oh, here, this one. Okay. So make this a little bigger so you guys can see. Cut out those dead ads there. Okay. So this is why we want to always run at least two ads against one another. I don't think most people know this. If you look at this ad set, notice the difference in reach between these two ads. All right. This one has a reach of 25,486. This one, 4,070. They are in the same ad set, the same audience. They are running against each other. Why does it do this? Well, Facebook's understanding or mandate or objective, however you want to think about it, is to get you whatever your campaign objective is at the lowest possible price. So whatever you tell it, which in this case is these are clicks to my website because I'm sending them to blog posts. Okay. So its understanding is, hey, I want as many clicks to a blog post as I can get at the lowest price. Okay. That's what it knows. And so as soon as it sees which ad in an ad set is doing best, it starts to show that ad more and more and the other less and less until eventually if it's only got one and one's really outperforming the other, it'll just stop showing the second ad. So it basically has built-in split testing. And if I was running 3 of these at the same time, it would do the same thing. It will run them against each other, figure out which one is doing best by its understanding, and then gradually stop showing the ones that are not and put all of the ad spend behind the one that is. Okay. So what you want to do is to make sure that you are always running at least 2. And then in an ideal world, what you would do is, because again, I mean, here's what you have to understand. This is something that is interesting to me. Is people expect to just get Facebook advertising, like just to be good at it. Like I should just be able to take a class and be good at it, which would be like saying I should be able to go take a class and then, play the masters. It doesn't work that way. And I think we should all understand that. I mean, you're going to have a fairly long learning curve. And the fact that things change, because once you figure it all out, right, what worked tomorrow doesn't work with your audience a year from now. So, again, it's back to this idea of the odds of your first ad that you create being the best ad that you can create is basically nil. Okay. Some sort of infinitely tiny number. Now you may run it, and look at it, which I do all the time, right? And say, okay, 80-20 rule. I got a million things to do. And so I've tried a couple of different variations, and based on what I know the lifetime value of a customer is, could I get lower clicks? Yes. Could I get more click through rate? Yes. But do I have time? Am I happy with this? It'll make me money. It's working okay. I'm going to move on. Okay. So that's why I said in an ideal world, there is a cutoff point. But in an ideal world, what you are going to do, or you would do, is you would then, once Facebook starts skewing heavily towards one or the other, you kill the one that isn't working, right? So in this case, I would kill the zipline blog post, and then create a new ad and test that against the one that's working. And like all split testing, this is the control. And then I put the new ad in there and see if I can beat the control. And that as long as you had these things running, you would always be doing that. And if you did that, it would be yet another way of knowing that you were refreshing your content. A couple questions here. Mike says, target the same audience for both ads. Actually, Mike, by definition, because these are in the same ad set, they are the same audience, literally. So if I go here, I'm in an ad set, right? So if I move up, if I edit, well, you can see the ad set right here, right? The ad set, these two ads are in, because remember the campaign structure. You've got a campaign, which is like the file cabinet. You've got an ad set, which is the file folder, which holds all of the files, which are the ads. Okay. So the ad set is where the targeting is set. And as you can see here, this is going to Australia, Canada, UK, and the United States, age 25 to 65, who are Facebook page admins and have interests of Mari Smith, Amy Porterfield, .com secrets, or Ryan Dice. Okay, that's my ad set. That's my targeting. And these are the ads inside that ad set. So they're all going to the same target audience, and it is testing them against one another. It does that automatically. That's something you have to know. And actually, sometimes you have unintended results with that. I showed this in another group where I threw in some third world or some countries like the Philippines in here, and all of a sudden, because so you've got Australia, Canada, UK, and the United States, and it was a single ad. Okay, but again, what does Facebook think? Its job is to get you the lowest clicks. So the first thing it does is it says, well, screw these 68-cent clicks. I can get her 2-cent clicks in the Philippines. So I'm never going to show that ad in Australia, Canada, UK, and the United States. I'm just going to show those in the Philippines. Only problem is, guess how many of those Philippine clicks ever converted to anything else, into a buyer? 0. So it looks all well and good because I had this ridiculously high click-through rate and this ridiculously low cost, but none of them ever turned into a buyer. And that was my mistake. I didn't mean to. I just mistakenly threw that Philippine target in there. And Facebook says, yeah, well, that's how I'm going to optimize. So there's a bigger point that you have to know whatever ads are in your ad sets. It is optimizing them. It's not showing them equally. At least not over time. It will, as it begins to figure this out. The longer it runs, the more it will skew to the ad objective at the lowest cost. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, Charlie, that's a great question. Charlie says, how do you figure out customer value when you are a startup? In the beginning, you just have to make a guess, and you should guess low. When I started Sync2CRM, we made some assumptions. We said, all right, well, we think that the average subscription size is going to be $97, and that we'll just assume that we can keep someone for 4 months. Surely we can keep someone for 4 months, and that'll be our lifetime value. So in the end, our values started out high, because of course pricing pressure came in almost immediately, and we had to lower all of our prices. So our average value is now closer to $50 than $100. We do keep people over 4 months, and now I actually do know my lifetime value, and it turns out it is a bit higher than that. But to begin with, you just have to start. You just have to make some assumptions. That's all you can do. But you want to calculate that number as soon as you know it, right? Ozzy says, I have an ad set with 25% reach of the other getting 75% of the clicks. With 25% reach of the other getting 75% of the clicks. Oh, I think you're saying something like this. So tell me if I've got this. Like this ad set is, you've got 25,000 reach here and 4,000 reach here, but instead of most of the clicks being on this one with all of the reach, as you would expect, you've actually got all the clicks over here on the one with the smaller reach. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. See, this is why the numbers in Facebook are fairly useless. I mean, how do you interpret that? The only way to interpret that ultimately is like who buys, who converts, and Facebook doesn't track that. I mean, they do. The conversion pixels will track it, up to 28 days. But the problem is, for most of us, we have selling cycles that are much longer than 28 days. I may have somebody who, like let's take my course, which is $2,000. How long is someone going to look at that from the first click before they actually decide to buy? A lot of them will take a lot longer than 28 days. So the only way to tie these back, all straight back to the ad, to the first click on the ad, and know which of these ads Ozzy actually ended up working, is Wicked Reports. You can't know actually which is good or bad, and in fact which one to turn off or not, which is the problem with yours because it's so freaking weird, right? Without knowing who's clicking, who's converting. So I mean, hopefully you have some sort of a conversion pixel set up, something like, hopefully you've gotten them to the point where you could at least start to make some judgments on conversions, because obviously a website click isn't a conversion. What percentage of them, from which ad are ultimately clicking through to your lead magnet, for example, is where you're trying to get to. But yeah, that's weird. That one's harsh. I don't know how to how I would reconcile that without just ultimately looking at who bought. Yep. That is weird. Hang on, let me get through all these. Okay. How difficult is Wicked Reports to implement? It's not hard to implement. It's expensive is the barrier to entry. I mean, their lowest version is $297 a month. But again, if that's my point, if you're running ads of any sort of size whatsoever, that $297 should be a no-brainer, because again, the number of anything, the cost of anything does not matter. Doesn't matter whether it's $200 or $2,000. The only thing that matters is, will it return $297 a month to you? And if you're doing, $500 or $1,000 a month of Facebook advertising, ultimately, you could waste $297 by not knowing which one of these ads is working. Okay, I just spent $229 on this ad right here. If I can't tell that ad is working, then that is the cost right there, basically, of Wicked Reports, right? So in terms of the implementation, it's Wicked Reports. Let me show you. Wicked Reports. Let me find it. It's created by, here it is, by one of our fellow ICPs, Scott Degrolier. They're great guys. Tell them I sent you. And I know that Dom's wife, Carrie, is a oh, yeah, that's funny. So Dom is just saying, as I was thinking it too, that they have 2 people on staff that are Wicked Report certified, if you need that. Yeah. And so in terms of like getting it set up and how complicated it is to implement, it is not that complicated, but I'll tell you what it takes is it also takes some discipline, because what you have to do is every time you run let me just I didn't mean for this to be all about Wicked Reports, but I just yeah, I just said that, Charlie, it is pricey, but again, and yes, I use the basic and that's sufficient. But again, if you spend $200, $297 a month in ads and you're doing it blind and you have no idea if you've just thrown that money out the window, then this is a no-brainer. But yes, it is absolutely, for the vast majority of us, that basic pricing plan is all you need. Let me just look at it. Oh, okay. Look at them go. Anyway, that's what I use, is the basic one. Okay. And what I was starting to say was the discipline is, the beauty of it is that not only can you track your Facebook advertising, your AdWords advertising, you also, every email that you send will be tracked in here. So you'll know, are your emails making you money? Every time you post on social media, if you put a link in it properly, then Wicked Reports will track that too. So if you've hired a social media manager to post on social media for you, is that making you any money? You have no idea. Wicked Reports will tell you that. The key to it is that you have to create a trackable link every time you do one of those things. Every email, every Facebook ad, every YouTube video, everything that you want to have tracked, you have to have the discipline to put the tracking link in the thing, or else Wicked Reports can't track it back. So it's just a habit that you have to get into, and once you're in the habit, it's not hard at all. At first, though, I would find myself quite often forgetting it. Okay, hang on. So really the only number worth looking at in Facebook is the cost per reach, making sure it is lower than customer value. Yeah, pretty much. That's a very good summary. Actually, it's not just lower than customer value, because remember, that's just the cost at each stage, right? So you have to, just like the numbers you showed me, Charlie, you've got to work that backward and say, if I spend X here and X there and Y there and Z there, the sum total of those need to be significantly lower than customer value, right? Because you want to make a profit and you want to make a decent profit, right? So for me, I would expect, if I've got a, $3,000 lifetime value on a customer, and I'm spending 100 or 200 to acquire them, all the way down the line, am I okay with that? Absolutely. But if I had a $250 lifetime value of a customer and I was spending $200 to acquire them, would I be okay with that? No, right? That's just not enough profit. That's too, the margin is too narrow there. So yeah, I mean, and again, I understand that in the beginning, you're just it's a hypothesis. I totally get it. But it's the way we all have to start. We have to just kind of try some things and work to whittle the numbers down based on the best guess that we can make at the time that we do it. But I will tell you this, unless that what you're selling, Charlie, is really you've got to, if you've got decent profit margin on it, as long as you're not selling, a widget that you're buying for $5 and reselling for $5.50, where you've got to sell gazillions of them, and it's very low price and very low dollar margin. I mean, if you've got any sort of decent order size at all, then you can almost go at Facebook without worrying about that at first, because you're not it shouldn't cost you $400 to acquire a customer, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But you do need to know that number ultimately. Ozzy says, what do I mean by trackable link? So it depends what you're tracking. I'll show you. In emails, what you do, and this is why we're covering UTMs in my course and also in my free stuff that I'm putting together. So in your emails, for example, you would need to create a link that looked like this. Email broadcast. The medium is email. These are called UTM. The campaign is blog, inbound article. This term is actually going to be email list, existing email list, something like that. Anyway, I can't talk and figure this out at the same time. This would be the name of my email campaign, and this would be email list probably, or term audience. No, this would be like what do I have here that's a fit for that? Build list. Okay. So what happens is this little builder builds this link right here, Ozzy, which is the link to your blog post with a query string at the end of it, which has what are known as UTM parameters. And these UTM parameters are very specific to Google. These are Google's parameters. And when they pass through Google, they'll appear in Google for one thing, but Wicked then grabs them out of your Google Analytics in order to track the behavior of individual people and tie it all the way back to Infusionsoft or Stripe and the sale. Or not just the sale, the opt-in or a sale, right? In order to be able to produce reports so that you can know, like, what was what was the last thing they clicked on before they bought from you? What was the first thing they clicked on, etc. Now, these UTMs, and which of course you can shorten them if you use them elsewhere in like other places, but so this is the longest and the most complicated set, and it's just a matter of setting this up in fact, I was thinking about making a little builder like this in Sync2CRM. But anyway, you just, you have these all set up as values, and so that they're dropped down. So every time you need to make a link, you just come over here, you hit your little values and copy this and use that link in your email. Okay. And so that's what I said about it. It has to become a habit. Now, this is the most complicated link in all of it. If you're doing the tracking in like a Facebook ad or or other things, social media, they actually have shorthand versions where all you have to do is say Wicked source equals Facebook and Wicked ID, and then you just put the ad ID in there and it automatically tracks it from the Facebook ad, for example. So you don't need this big long UTM thing. Although Google, if you still want all this to show up in Google, you may want to do it anyway. But for Wicked, you don't need all this in the ad. You only need those two parameters. And you just have to get in the habit of creating these links everywhere, right? In the same way that you pixel everywhere, if you want to track everything, then you got to put links everywhere. Okay. Mike, did that answer your question, Ozzy? So this is the most complicated version, but they get simpler depending on what it is. Okay. UTM stands for Urchin Tracking Module. UTM, Urchin Tracking Module. And it is specific to Google. However, Google Wicked Reports uses those UTM values as well. I know. I do need a module on this alone. Actually, I have one. When I read you my list, I am spending a day on tracking in the course. But I also plan to create a number of videos on this. I have one for UTMs, one for Wicked Reports, etc. Lifetime value is another one. ROI spreadsheet is another one on my list. So I have all these things on my list to create for sure in my YouTube course. It's like so much stuff, isn't there? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, otherwise, you see what I mean, you guys, you're flying blind though. That's the problem. All right, look, it's 11:47. This was a great discussion, so I don't begrudge it, but let me just finish my other two rules real quick and then we'll go back to questions, okay? Okay, so let me tell you rule number 2. Okay, these will be faster, maybe. Rule number 2 is to always choose the correct objective for a campaign. And again, this goes back to the idea that Facebook is way smarter than you, so don't get fancy. Just tell it what you want in the campaign objective so that it can show your ads to the people it knows are most likely to fulfill that objective, because it does know that. Remember what it's doing. So let's just say, on the first ad that you run at the top of your funnel, to a blog post, if you've got an audience size of 1.5 million people, which is kind of the sweet spot for that ad, and you're using, say, a video view objective, okay, so it's a video ad, and so you tell it, I want video views because this is a video ad. Well, Facebook knows who amongst those 1.5 million people is most likely to watch a video. So it shows your ad to those people. That's why you want to give it a very big pool to choose from. It's not showing your ad to all 1.5 million people. It's showing them to the subset of those people that it thinks will do what you want it to do at the lowest cost based on what it knows. So, so then imagine instead of a video view objective, because you're running a video ad, let's say instead that you were using a conversion objective, okay, based off of a conversion pixel. Well, that may be that is likely going to be a totally different 100,000 subset from the ones that Facebook would show the ad to if you wanted video views, right? So again, let Facebook help you by letting it do what you do best by choosing the right objective. Don't get fancy. Don't say, gee, I wonder, if I could trick it or, hack it by putting a video in a conversion. Just tell it what you want. Okay. And then let it do its thing. Now, again, if you're not sure which of those objectives you should pick based on what you're trying to get, first of all, I will tell you that there's really primarily 4 objectives I use. The top of my funnel for when I'm sending people to blog post, I use click to website. Then for my mobile, I've now, as you're about to see, I've got lead ads running. For my to drive them to my lead magnet, for desktop placement for anything that's like a landing page, I use you would use a conversion event optimizer for event conversion, and then not event conversion, optimize for conversion, and then the fourth one is a video ad. Those are 98% of the time, the 4 that I use based on my business and based on my content strategy. Doesn't necessarily mean those are the ones you're going to use, but most people will. Okay, so that's rule number 2. And then rule number 3, by the way, if you weren't sure about something like that, great question, go over to the Facebook ad group and just ask what people think. Okay, rule number 3 is this: if you include, exclude. And so this is referring to custom audiences. Hopefully you are using those now and you're targeting for your ads. Not at the top of your funnel necessarily. More usually these are like second layer down and further. And remember that custom audience is just Facebook's way of saying list. Okay. So you can create a list of users in Facebook, or you want to create lists of users in Facebook so that you can show your ad to those specific people in the exact same way that you create lists in Infusionsoft so that you can send emails to those specific people, right? And the ways, just to kind of as a refresher, the ways to create that list. And again, when I say list, that's list equals custom audience. The two terms are analogous. Okay, is to put your Facebook pixel everywhere on your website, your landing pages, your opt-in pages, your order forms, everywhere. So that Facebook can track your visitors, and then you can then tell Facebook to create lists based on what pages someone did or didn't visit, right? And then the other way, of course, that you can create a list is with Sync2CRM, from using data from your CRM or email platform. And that is what we call an email or customer list audience. Now, either way, what you're doing with these lists once you are creating them is you are using them to show ads to the people in your list, which I'm about to show you. And you're going to do that in an ad set, which, as we just saw, is where you set your ad targeting. But here, instead of choosing demographics or interests like I did in that other ad, remember I said people in the United States, Canada, UK, blah, 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 who like Mari Smith, Amy Porterfield, Ryan Dice. Okay, those are demographics and interests. Instead of doing that, like I would at the top of my funnel, instead, what you do is you go to the custom audience box. Let's actually just pull this up. You go to I'm in an ad set right here. You go to the custom audience box, right? And notice that my demographics are empty, no countries, full whiteout range, right? No detailed targeting, no nothing. Instead, what I'm using are my lists right here. And so what you're doing is, you're saying use this custom audience to tell Facebook which lists you want to include in your ad targeting, okay? Which in this case is all of my site traffic over the last 180 days and everybody who's watched 25% of one of my videos in the last, at least 25% of one of my video ads in the last 10 days. That's who's seeing this ad, okay? But this is the key, and this is the mistake that most people make. As your brain should go ding, 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 right? As soon as you include a custom audience on one of your ad targets, you should automatically say, okay, I just included someone. Now, who should I exclude? Because there is always going to be someone who should be excluded, right? Someone who's already farther down your funnel or in your customer journey that shouldn't be seeing this ad. Who's that, right? So that's one thing, people who are already down the funnel. But the other thing the exclusion is used for is how do you stop showing this ad to people in these lists once they've taken the action I want, right? This is a lead ad. So so I'm showing this to people who've been to my website in 180 days or have watched this video. The moment they sign that, they submit that lead ad, I want to stop showing, I want to stop showing them this ad. How do I do that? Well, you do it both things with the same way here. Okay. When you submit that lead ad, guess what happens? You get added to my email list instantly, of course, in Infusionsoft and with Sync2CRM. So by excluding email list, as soon as you do what I want you to do, which is to submit that lead ad form for the lead magnet, it's going to stop showing you this ad. Okay. Because now you're in my email list. But similarly, if you've already been you guys who've been in my email list for a long, long time, you won't see this ad either because you're excluded. And you're also excluded because you're active customers, active Sync2CRM customers. Both of these exclusions keep you from seeing this ad. Okay. But if you weren't one of these two things, it would stop the ad as soon as you submitted the lead ad and jumped on my email list. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? And let me tell you why this is important. This is important for 3 reasons. The reasons are, number one, I mean, the most obvious one, right, is that showing ads to the wrong people wastes money. And we don't want to do that. But number 2, right, is this. Remember the magic sauce in Facebook. The thing that they care about is relevance. And because if what they want is if their users get pissed off because of what they're seeing in their ad in their newsfeed and leave Facebook or stop responding to those ads, then Facebook stops stops making money. They made $4 billion, $3.69 billion last year on advertising revenue, right? It's all of their revenue basically. And they care about that a lot. And so relevance is how they keep track of that. Okay, that's what they care about. So in order to incent you properly, they reward relevance with more reach and cheaper ad costs. When your users, right, basically by their actions, tell Facebook that your ad is relevant, Facebook literally starts increasing your reach and lowering your ad costs. And conversely, if the actions that your user takes, like ignoring your ad or even reporting it as being irrelevant, they will instantly start to decrease your reach and raise your ad costs. Okay? So if you don't exclude those audiences, then you are by definition showing ads to people that are irrelevant, and you don't want to do that. It's sort of the equivalent of open rates and engagement rates with emails, and the way that, Google or other people may, penalize you if you keep sending emails to people who don't read them. It's kind of the same idea. It's all this, that's like the new gold standard now, right? Relevance. Okay. So you want to be thinking about that. And then here's number 3. And you might not think this really matters, but it does in this day and age. Now, your prospects are probably more aware than you think. And they are being chased around the internet by ads. They're getting used to it now. They're getting savvier. And if you're showing them ads that they shouldn't be seeing, I hear this in groups all the time. In fact, the digital marketer group, people grumble about it fairly often. Like, why the hell is digital marketer showing me this ad? Why not? Like, I already own their whatever, I mean, at best, it makes them question, even maybe at a subconscious level, whether you've got it together. But at worst, it annoys them. And you don't want to annoy your prospects or your customers, right? So those are the 3 reasons. And again, just to summarize, the 3 unbreakable rules are: 1, always run 2 ads together, one against the other. 2, always choose the correct objective for a campaign. And then 3, and by correct, I mean, the one that best describes what it is that you actually want to have happen. And then number 3, if you include, exclude. Okay? Hopefully you found that helpful in spite of all of the rambling around that we did. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Makes sense. Yes. Ozzy says customer journey documentation structure is critical. Without this analysis, don't start advertising. You will disappear up your own backside. I absolutely agree. In fact, that is why the customer journey is day 1 of my course. We're going to spend a day on it and getting that buttoned down first, because literally, if you don't know that, then just like you said, I mean, it's sort of like, it's the flip side of not being able to measure what's happening or know if your ads are effective. If you start without even knowing what the customer journey is and who and what it, then yeah, those 2 things together will eat you up really fast. What was that phrase Ossie said? I thought you meant disappear up your own backside. But I read further, and she wants to know about customer journey. I just no, I remembered that part. I think he called it the customer journey analysis. I'm pretty sure structure. the customer journey structure and analysis. Connie says, I signed up for a business manager account and I claimed my business Facebook page on it. Now I don't see the ads manager format. Have I made a big mistake? How do I go back to the ads manager page, the one you've been showing us today? Now you don't know why I want to view your session on the business manager. It is really confusing when you first switch it over. But you can get it. I'm actually in Power Editor. So it's confusing. Let me see if I can help. So it's getting better, but I don't love Business Manager. Unfortunately, you have to have it. Is Bill Nazaroff still? No, he's dropped off. I was going to tell him to take me off as an admin. Okay. Connie, really quick, when you log into Business Manager, this is what you see. Okay. And so your page is down here and your ad account is right here. So one way to get to the ads manager is to go here. Okay. And to click there. I actually don't go there because it's silly. I don't know why this irks me so bad, but you can't delete an ad account once you've created it. And so I created this ad account called Test, and it always goes here first, which just pisses me off every time. All I have to do is click this little drop down right here and say, go to my ad account. And now I'm in the ads manager. Okay. So now you have campaign name. I'm in a campaign. Okay. And you can see right here, if I want to create a new ad, I just do that and it's going to look basically just like the old ads manager. Okay. The way I do it actually, or try to, so it doesn't piss me off, is I just click right here. So here's that ad account. I just click on it. It takes me right to Ads Manager. I can see all my ads. I can click through into the ad sets, into the campaigns and the ad sets to get in. Okay. Yep. You bet. Oh, there's a delay in the video. No problem. So let me show you. Let me just go back to the way that I get in is this. So if I'm here on my Facebook page, or Facebook in general. Okay. The way that I get in is right up here in this little drop down. Once you change it to the business manager, it's going to put it here. It won't show over here anymore. Like this create ad, create all this stuff. This is any pages you haven't claimed in Business Manager yet. Like my Kim Snyder page is still outside of Business Manager. And so is my Gemini Farm one, which is why they're also up here, your pages. But your Business Manager account is right here in this drop down. And then, for example, if someone has made you an admin or advertiser on their Business Manager account, which is one of the whole reasons that we sign up for Business Manager, is so that people can do that. From here, you can click, instead of clicking into yours, you can click into theirs as well. I often, for troubleshooting reasons, have people add me as an admin to their account and then take me off later. And so that's why Bill's on here right now. But yeah, so right now, if I click on that, it takes me to that overview. And then if I want in my ad manager, I can just click right there on the ad account. And hopefully it's going to open the ad account. There it goes. All right. Did that get it for you? Did I lose you? Nope. Okay, good. All right. And obviously, if you run into a snag with that, Facebook ad group, there's lots of people who use Business Manager in there, and I check in as often as I can as well. Okay. All your buddies from this course are in there as well, or this program are in there as well. Okay. Good. Anything? We're over by a few minutes. Hopefully that was helpful to everybody. I hope. Any other questions quick ones that I could just answer for anyone off the cuff without big explanation? Just so you know, I mean, and I obviously can't make promises because it depends on what I've got going on that day, but your questions are my prompt for creating content, whether it be YouTube videos or blog posts or what have you. So, if you ask a question in the Facebook group, and it just like lends itself to a quick video or what have you, like that one, then a lot of times I'm just going to try to do that because then we'll have it and then everyone has it, right? um so yeah, so I don't want you to think like this is all going away. It's like I said, it doesn't quite have the same structure, but I think we can get to something pretty close. Okay. Talk to you tomorrow, Ozzy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, yay. Charlie says, send me another email for your program. I think you have sold me. Here, Charlie, let me just give you the link right here, right? Facebook training. I'll give it to everybody with Kim Snyder. By the way, I updated the curriculum a bit based on all the feedback everybody gave me when I asked for it, which was awesome. You'll see that there. So let me just put that here for everybody in the chat so they have it. There you go. Because yeah, there's no link to it on the site. It's not. It's kind of hidden. It's dark. It's there, but it's dark. So you'll need that. It's just Facebook training with Kim Snyder, and ask me if you need it. Connie can't. Oh, you're so welcome. Connie says, can't thank you enough for these user group sessions. I've learned so very much, and I'm really excited about the course. Can't wait to have you in it. This is going to be so fun. It's been a really long time since I've done this, and I'm chomping at the bit. South Carolina phrase, to get back to it, to get back to teaching and like really deep, teaching, meaningful, having a meaningful impact on somebody's business. So this is going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Charlie says, I'm sort of sensing here, Charlie, that maybe you've run into some courses that you didn't think very highly of. Charlie says it's about time someone who actually gives real info and not fluff. So I'm going to do my darndest, and I expect you to. Well, I agree. Actually, I mean, and look, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I think that's always been what's different from me. I'm actually really good at like creating actionable info as opposed to just high level stuff. My brain just doesn't work up at that level, for whatever reason. In fact, if I have a downfall, it's that I can get too far in the weeds, actually, because I think it's all so cool. I want you to know every little nook and cranny of it. So I always have to try to kind of remember to keep a beginner's mind, but that's the part I love. And so I do agree with you on that front. But let me see what. Charlie says even Amy Porterfield classes are a joke, in my opinion. Good point. Ozzy, that's an excellent point, right? Ozzy says it's also about each of us taking action, which was your email today, right? Which I did get and read, not just listening to course material. If you can't, yeah, I mean, there's nothing magic, right? Like this stuff just doesn't happen in your account without you, as Tony Robbins says, taking determined massive action. And so my job is to give you the tools and a bit of the motivation, I think, to take that massive determined action, and then you've got to do it. So I think that's the part I'm good at, and hopefully together we'll see some excellent results. That's what I'm banking on. Agreed, Ossie. Absolutely. His comment was, he and I've been going back and forth on some branding and positioning questions, and he says that's how you will get your champions, and I absolutely agree. You guys are my champions. I love you guys. All right, I'm going to sign off then, if that's all we got. But anyway, I'll see you guys around everywhere, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, you guys, for being here so much. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.